We are live and we were straight into it. No waiting, no starting soon. We're right into the news. A lot of MLS news breaking over the last couple of days. A lot of things that are surprising. And, you guys can kind of see a sneak peek of what we're about to talk about with a huge bid that Toronto FC apparently made for USMNT striker Josh Sargent, who currently plays at Norwich. And they're spending a lot of money on this guy to bring him to MLS. So a lot of stuff happening, a lot of news. Also, too, we're going to touch on Chucky Lozano, possibly, no possibility. He is leaving San Diego FC. We'll see where he goes and what he ends up doing after he leaves San Diego FC. If he's going to stay in Major League Soccer, go back to Liga MX. We will see what happens to Chucky Lozano. And then also talk about Hector Herrera. And what was the last thing we were going to talk about too? I'm trying to think. Oh, Timo Werner. Timo Werner is coming to Major League Soccer, and he is going to play for San Jose. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Before we get into it, guys, make sure you like the stream down below if you haven't already. Helps us out. A lot of news to talk about. Make sure you give us a like down below. We always hit 100 likes on all these streams. Let's try to get to 200 likes on our stream tonight. I think we can do it. A lot of MLS news is ramping up, especially because the season is right around the corner. A lot of teams are reporting to their teams this week. So make sure you guys like the stream down below if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Mr. Appreciate you for stopping by, my friend. Okay, so let's get into this. Fabrizio Romano has reported that Toronto FC has sent an official bid to Norwich for Josh Sargent worth $18 million. Negotiations underway as Norwich are in talks over the details. Sargent could head to MLS soon. Now, Toronto FC is in an interesting spot because they haven't made the playoffs since 2019. They've been very disappointing, and they've tried several different mechanisms or strategies. They tried to recreate the Italian magic that they had with Sebastian Giovinco in through 2015 through 2018. And they tried to do that with Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi. It did not work out. They had not made the playoffs since 2019, like I said. And so now it looks like they're taking a different avenue, and they are going to their original blueprint, which is what they did in 2014 when they signed Michael Bradley, who was 27 years old at the time, maybe even 26. And he was one of the very first building pieces into helping that team turn around and be a playoff contending team and even win an MLS Cup. They're trying to do that blueprint again. They're trying to get the USMNT player. So, Toronto FC, this is interesting. I mean, Josh Sargent's been really good for Norwich City. Let's look at his goals here. I think he's been there for either 3 to 4 years, maybe even 5. Yeah, okay, so 4 years, almost 5 years with Norwich City. He's got 53 goals in 146 appearances in league play for Norwich City. Let's see how many goals he has in total. 56 goals in 156 appearances in total in every appearance he's ever made for Norwich. And he has 22 appearances this year and 7 goals for Norwich. And I think they're trying to fight above relegation in 2020, in 2025, 2026. So that's another thing, is I don't think they're really super desperate to sell him because they're trying to keep their head above water. But we'll see. They're going to obviously want a pretty steep price tag if they're going to let him go. And 18, 20 million sounds about right. Man, I was talking with a buddy today about this. I just don't know if you couldn't get a better player for that amount of money. 18 to 20 million dollars for Josh Sargent. I mean, I feel like you could probably get a better quality player who produces more than Josh Sargent for that type of money. They're paying for, I would say, I mean, I don't even say the USMNT branding or Gleam, because, there was Wolfsburg, I think, was offering $24 million for him this past summer, and he turned them down. So I just think that's a lot of money for Josh Sargent. I want to say you could get someone better. The last time MLS team spent 20 plus million on a championship striker was Emmanuel Latte-Lath, and he was a total failure. He was a total failure for Atlanta United. He had 7 goals in 30 appearances, and they spent $22-23 million with incentives add-ons that could have gotten him to, close to $30 million. So I just don't know if this is the right move. I mean, I think he could be good in MLS, but he is only, let's see how old Josh Sargent is. I want to say he's 25 years old. Yeah, 25. He'll be 26 in February. So he still is pretty young. I do think this would be a good move for Toronto FC long term. Like it could pay off, but it's just a huge investment. I mean, $18 million. Guys, if they sign him, he would be the third highest paid or third biggest transfer fee player in the history of MLS. He'd be behind Son Heung-min and Emmanuel Latte-Lot. So when I think of a guy who costs or demands that type of transfer fee, I think of a guy who's going to dominate the league and someone who is going to just completely take their team to another level. I just don't know if he is that caliber of player in Major League Soccer. I don't know if he is. I just don't know if that's what Josh Sargent is going to be able to do. And they do have some good players. Someone mentioned that they have Jordi Mihalovic. I mean, he is very good, and he will feed Josh Sargent. I just don't know if that is the route I would take, and it's a steep, steep price. I would like to see Toronto FC be relevant again. They haven't been relevant in a while. They have not been relevant in a while. Like I said, they haven't made the playoffs since 2019. So we'll see. But I want to ask you guys, do you guys think that Josh Sargent, they should pay $18 million for Josh Sargent, Toronto FC? Should Toronto FC pay $18 million for Josh Sargent? Sargent has a better resume than Latte-Lot. That's true. But still, he was just such a failure. He is a good player. I know you don't like it. I don't dislike Josh Sargent. I don't dislike him. I'm disappointed in his performance with the USMNT, but I don't dislike Josh Sargent. I think he is a decent player. I just don't know if he should be an $18 million player. I think you could get something better for that type of money. 18 million is 13.3 million pounds, means he needs at least 15 goals next season. I mean, honestly, if you're spending that type of money, I feel like you need 20 goals, right? I mean, I just think that there's better players for that type of money you could get. I think you should at least be scoring 20 goals. If you're paying 18 million for a striker, you got to be scoring at least 20 goals. You got to be at least scoring 20 goals. So I'm curious what you guys think. I personally think that they shouldn't do this, but it would be interesting to see what he can do in MLS. Now, a lot of people thought he was going to go back to St. Louis, his hometown team. I never thought St. Louis City would ever pay $18 million for him. They just don't spend that type of money. So I knew that was a non-starter. But Toronto FC trying to get another USMNT player on their team to help turn things around. That is interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Let's move on to our next one. This is going to be like a 30-minute stream, so I'm going to try to get through this. Okay, Fabrizio Romano also reported tonight that Timo Werner to San Jose Earthquakes. Here we go. Deal in place for the German striker to try a new chapter at MLS. Werner leaves Leipzig and will sign at San Jose in the next days after a verbal agreement reached today. It will be a permanent deal. So that's interesting. Now, Timo Werner is a player that had been rumored. We talked about this earlier in the offseason with Inter Miami. Now, I never bought that. I've said this numerous times. He was never a player that they were really high on. It didn't make any sense. I think it was a team maybe he wanted to play for, but I don't think that the feelings were reciprocated. So this makes a lot more sense on a team like San Jose, a team that lost Chicho Arango, lost Joseph Martinez. They need a striker. So Timo Werner, 29 years old, will be 30 in March, looking for an opportunity to redeem himself, looking for an opportunity to maybe revitalize his career. I mean, he's not going to get a move back to Europe at this point, obviously, but maybe find some of that form he had 5 or 6 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long since we've seen him be super productive, but I think that this is a good move, and this is kind of like a team that you would want to see Timo Werner play for, a San Jose Earthquakes. I think he could be pretty good under Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena, the godfather of MLS, right? I think that this is a great signing for them, and I think it's supposedly going to be a DP deal. I'll be curious to see what he ends up making, but this is the type of deal that San Jose needs to make. Now, San Jose, if I'm not mistaken, obviously Christian Espinosa was a DP I don't think Chicho Arango might have been a DP. I think he actually was because he was a DP with RSL. I'll have to check and see, but I think San Jose has one DP spot open after this, maybe even possibly two. So they could add. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bruce Arena add a couple other pieces around Timo Werner to see what he could do. Now Chicho Arango, because I think Chicho Arango, isn't he rumored to be going back to Liga MX, if I'm not mistaken? I mean, it still has him listed as a player for San Jose, but I could have sworn that he's being linked to go back to Liga MX. But if they lose Chicho Arango, they will have 0 DPs on the roster. This would be one of them in Timo Werner. So they kind of have a clean slate as far as their designated players. We'll see what they can do. I like this move. I don't know what the expectations are for Timo Werner in Major League Soccer. He just really hasn't done a lot, like I said, in several years. So the 2019 season, I want to say 2018, 2019 season, no, 2019, 2020. That was the season he scored 28 goals in the Bundesliga. He hasn't scored double-digit goals in league play since 2019, 2020. So he has been very disappointing. The best season he had since then was in 2022, 2023. He had 9 goals and 27 appearances for Leipzig. But I'm willing to give him a chance. I think it could be something where it's a mutually beneficial. He can give them something that they're missing. And I think he could maybe revitalize himself to a certain degree with the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, how many goals? I think he could I think he can score 10 plus goals with the San Jose Earthquakes. Werner needs to get about 20 goals this season. Man, I don't even know if he could do that. I don't even know if he could do. I mean, maybe that would, maybe he could, but I don't even know if he can score that many. I don't know if he can even score 20 goals. I mean, we'll have to see what he can do. And guys, if you're just now joining us, make sure you smash the like button down below. We're trying to get to 200 likes. If you're just joining us, this is going to be a 30-minute stream. We're hitting these talking points real quick about some of these transfer news. Make sure you guys like this down below. Also subscribe to the channel. 340 subs away from 12,000. We're trying to get to that number. So make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. A lot of MLS content on the way. $1.99 super chat from Johnny says, "Hey, Will, have you heard anything about anything of Miami transfer?" There's one thing I'll talk about towards the end. It's Tristan Blackman. There was a post that Dane St. Clair had commented with Tristan Blackman, and that's the last thing I've really heard about Inter Miami. That's been kind of quiet, but they had been so active recently that I do think that they might be close to being done, at least for the rest of this transfer window. But we'll just have to see. Okay. Now the next thing I want to talk about, and I thought this was interesting, was the reports about San Diego FC head coach Mikey Barris on the breaking news that Mexican international Chucky Lozano is out, meaning he is not going to be with the team anymore. He's not with the team anymore. I think it's the club president had announced that Chucky Lozano was going to be moved off of, like they're going to move in a different direction, and he no longer will be part of San Diego FC going forward. And this is really surprising because there was some type of incident towards the end of the 2025 season, and he didn't play in the first playoff game, maybe even the second playoff game. But he was their crown jewel signing. He was a guy that they really wanted to build their team around. They're in San Diego. I think it's like 10 miles from the Mexican border. They were really hoping to get a lot of the Mexican American and even Mexican fans to support San Diego FC. This was a brand signing. They wanted to really help elevate the club. And he's only played 1 year. He only played 1 year with the team, and they spent like $13 million on Chucky Lozano. Maybe it's a little more than they actually spent. Okay, yeah, $12 million. They spent $12 million on him. They expected him to be a pillar for this team in the early days of the club. So he has been a huge disappointment, right? He showed some flashes, but like overall, it wasn't as good as what they thought. He had 11 goals and 31 appearances in MLS play. And what really hurt this team or this signing, I think, was that Anders Dreyer was what Chucky Lozano was supposed to be for San Diego FC. He was what Chucky Lozano was supposed to be. He ended up having like 19 goals and 19 assists in MLS this year. 38 goal contributions in MLS, Anders Dreyer did. So Chucky Lozano was supposed to be the face of the team, and it ended up being Anders Dreyer, and it made him expendable. Like, it made him to where they didn't really need him. And overall, his season was a little disappointing. So I'm just surprised that they moved off of him so quickly. That's what I'm most surprised about. I didn't think that that would be the case. I thought they would at least maybe give him one more year to see what would happen, but that's not what happened. They're moving off of him quickly, and the question's going to be, where does he go? Does he go to another MLS team? Does he go back to Liga MX? I really don't know. I don't know what an MLS team would be willing to pay for Chucky Lozano, because they'd have to trade or buy him. And with him having such a down season, I don't know what a team would be willing to give up for him. He would be a DP. He's making like, I think, 4 or 5, maybe even $6 million a year. I don't know if an MLS team would be willing to take that. Maybe someone would. Maybe someone would. Hell, maybe San Jose would be willing to take on Chucky Lozano. Maybe a team like that. Maybe a team who wouldn't ordinarily be able to get a player of this caliber would be willing to take on his salary and bring him to the team. But it's just something we're going to have to follow and see what happens. I don't know. Maybe Chucky Lozano wants to go back to Mexico. I mean, he hasn't played in Mexico since 2017, Pachuca. So maybe he wants to return home and play in Mexico. I don't know. I'm not sure. Mr. says, honestly, Lozano has never been that good. He's just romanticized because of that goal versus Germany. He's decent, but only decent. Yeah, no, I agree with that. He was supposed to be a lot better than what he ended up being. I do think there's a lot of hype with Chucky Lozano. I think that he was supposed to be the Mexican crown jewel of players. I don't think he ever lived up to that. So I definitely agree with you, Mr. that I don't think that he ever met those expectations as a player, right? I mean, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Jesus says Rayados, which is obviously Monterrey. Tigres, Pumas were interested, but the problem is that Chucky needs to lower his salary. Yeah, he's just making way too much money in 2025. And I don't remember exactly what, maybe he's even making, God, he might even be making 7 million. Let's see. So that's a tough, yeah. Okay. So he's making $7.5 million at San Diego. So his salary is just so bloated. That's why I kind of think it would probably be another MLS team, and he would have to take, San Diego FC would have to pay for some of his salary, or do some type of weird deal where they are on the hook for some of his salary in order to move him. But I do think he would have some MLS interest. I do think that could be something. And Jesus says, and going to Pumas would be interesting because they are playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup versus San Diego FC. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But either way, the San Diego FC has made it clear that they do not want to have him back, and he is not in the plans for this team in 2020 and in 2026 and going forward. Another thing too I wanted to talk about, another Mexican international player is Hector Herrera. Now, Hector Herrera, who left MLS over a year ago after getting caught spitting on a referee, is returning to the Dynamo after one season at Toluca. Now, let's watch this play because I want to show you guys this. This is the infamous last play or last game of his where he spit on the ref because of the yellow card. He spit his feet, which was bad, and it obviously didn't end the way that they probably wanted it to end. He did have a great season with Houston Dynamo in 2023. Really bad season in 2024. A little bit of a puzzling move, in my opinion, just because Hector Herrera is, I want to say that he's 34 years old, might even be 35. Let's see. Hector Herrera is 35 years old. He'll be 36 in April. So I don't think there's any chance that he's going to be a DP for the Houston Dynamo, but they want to bring him back. Maybe they just think that they're missing something, even though in 2024, I don't think the season really went that well. I do think they did make the playoffs, but barely. I think that they're just hoping that maybe he can reignite, the flame of the team and reinvigorate this team, right, in 2025, because Ben Olsen is coaching for his job, or 2026, excuse me. Ben Olsen's coaching for his job, but I'd really have to see what the what they're willing to pay for him and how much he's going to cost if he goes back. Also, too, I'm curious. There was a rumor that when he went to Liga MX, they honored his suspension that he was going to have with MLS for spitting on the referee. He had a 3-game suspension, but I don't know if that was actually true, or if that was false. If the Liga MX, if Toluca and Liga MX enforced that 3-game suspension, I don't have to look it up and see. But if not, then that means that he wouldn't even be able to play the first 3 games of the year. Hector Herrera wouldn't be able to. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on and see if Hector Herrera even plays in 2020, or if he has to miss any games, what his salary is going to be. But this feels like a desperation move by a team that really, really is just trying. I don't want to say to be relevant again, but they are trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to win, and they're hoping that a guy like Hector Herrera, who was part of their winning team, will be able to reignite their flame and help them out in 2026. Now, was there anything else? I'm trying to think if there's, like I said, there's been so much movement, guys. Just bear with me. There's so much movement. There was something else I was going to touch on. I'm trying to think. There's crazy soccer news too. Xabi Alonso obviously either left or got fired with the with Madrid today, which I thought was interesting. Now there was something interesting today with, and I'm not logged onto my Instagram on my computer, so I can't find it on here. I'll have to look and see if someone shared it on Twitter. But there was something interesting with Tristan Blackman. Tristan Blackman. There was something interesting with that. So Tristan Blackman apparently made a comment or a post, and here it is right here. I'll share this with you. I mean, this could be nothing, but I do think it's interesting. So Tristan Blackman is obviously an Inter Miami target. There was the rumors last week about them, making a bid for him to try to get him on the team, and there were conflicting reports with the director of Vancouver, and then Michelle Kaufman, who obviously is one of the most renowned Inter Miami reporters. Works for the Miami Herald. She said that it was a done deal, $2.5 million. Then the director came out and said no. Well, Tristan Blackman had made a post, and Dane St. Clair had comment on it, and the thinking emoji and the eye emoji. And I think that this is still something that could get done. I don't know where it stands currently with Inter Miami and the Vancouver Whitecaps, but I do think this is something that still can get done in 2026. And they desperately want another center back to help with their depth because they're trying to make that CONCACAF Champions Cup run. So I do think that this still has legs. I do think they are still going to try to get this done. I just don't know what the price tag is going to be and how much and how long it's going to take. I do think that Vancouver has all the leverage, and they're going to wait, and they're going to see as much money as they can get, see if another team offers more. I mean, they're not required to sell him to Inter Miami no matter what. So they will probably sit this out and wait it out and see exactly what happens and see who has the best offer and see what happens. Any news about Charlotte FC? I haven't seen anything recently. There was the one player from Liverpool. What was his name? Name's escaping me. That's the last thing I really heard about anything when it comes to Charlotte FC. But I expect them to be competitive in 2026. They did buy Pep Biel officially. He's officially a DP. Michael says MLS should get more Danish and Belgian players. They seem to fit in pretty well. I do agree with that. They've had a lot of success with both nationalities, both leagues. And even, maybe not as much the Eredivisie. We don't see as many, but the Belgian league definitely have had a lot of successful players come to MLS from the Belgian league. Let's see. Mr. says, I'll be surprised if no one in MLS or Liga MX asks West Ham about Edson Alvarez by the end of August. Yeah, and that's another thing too is I do think that the summer is going to obviously be more electric for MLS because there's going to be a lot of players that come over here after the World Cup. That's normally what happens, right? But I do think there's still going to be a lot of moves this summer, or excuse me, this winter. A lot of teams are going to be adding some players and try to compete, especially for the Champions Cup, and there's still going to be ambitious teams, is what I'm saying, that are going to make some serious moves, and we'll see what they end up doing in 2026 before the season. And keep in mind, guys, the preseason started. Preseason starting this week. Teams are reporting this week to start practicing, and so we'll see what happens with that. But I think that's everything, guys. I think that's everything. It's 25 minutes in. I appreciate you guys stopping by. This was a shorter stream, obviously. Normally we go 40 minutes. There'll be another video probably later this week. We'll see what happens. There'll be a video this week. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday. And if there's more news comes out, we'll be back on streaming on Friday. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yes, New York City FC did re-sign Maxi Morales for one more year. That is true. They did sign him for one more year. I'm a little surprised. Maxi is pushing 40. He'll be 39 this year. A little surprising. I feel like they're going to have to. I mean, I guess he's so cheap at this point. It's not really, a bad signing or bad re-signing. But I don't dislike that. But we will keep up with what's going on. I appreciate you all for stopping by. Hope you guys have a great night. Make sure you guys smash the like button if you haven't already. It helps us out. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.